Hi, welcome back to None of Your Beeswax. Today we're going to be showing you how we treat for Varroa mites with another method. Today we're going to be using Formic Pro. It's a formic acid based product that is in these pads right here. Each pack contains 2 pads that we'll put in the hive. It is good for getting under the cappings and killing the mites. If you remember back in January we did oxalic acid treatment. That's good for when there's no brood in the hives, but when you have brood in the hives, which we do now, Formic Pro is the only treatment that will get up underneath the cappings and kill the mites that are under the cappings. There's some things you need to watch whenever you're using this product. Read the instructions carefully first and use it as directed. It is very temperature sensitive. You can apply it between 50 degrees and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. And there's 2 different application methods that you can use. One is a 20-day treatment where you put 1 strip in the hive for 10 days, pull it out and put another strip in the hive for another 10 days. That method will not get underneath the cappings, but if you use their first method, which is 2 strips in the hive in the middle of the brood chamber for 14 days, that will kill the mites under the hive. It's about 52 degrees today. Like I said, the temperature range is between 50 and 80. The most important time for that is the first 3 days, because this stuff vaporizes, and if you're too high a temperature, it will off-gas too fast, and you can wind up having queen problems with you killing your queen or them superseding your queen. If the temperature is too low, it won't vaporize fast enough, and it won't get the mite kill that you need, so you want to keep it between those temperature ranges. Like I said, today's about 52 degrees right now, so we're good there. Tomorrow and Sunday is going to be between 55 and 60, and then next week we're going to be in the 60s and 70s, so we'll be good for the next 2 weeks for this product. We want to get it done today because we're supposed to be inspected here in 2 weeks, and then we can start making our splits and selling some overwintered nukes. So I want to get these mites killed before we make those splits. So let's get set up and we'll go into the hive and show you what we do. Alright, so a couple other things I wanted to mention here from the paperwork is they tell you have to have the front entrance all the way open, no entrance reducers. You see right here, we've still got our mouse guards installed. It's supposed to be cool the next couple of nights, so I'm going to leave the mouse guard installed on the hives that have that. It does still have the entrance open. It's just a screen that allows the bees to come and go, but it will keep any mice out, so that'll be fine. We'll make sure we pull that off once it warms up a little bit. And then also, if you have a screen bottom board like we do, they tell you to put the bottom tray in to close off that screen bottom board. That way the bees can ventilate the hive and you don't have all that vapor build up in the hive excessively. So we're going to have, this is our normal standard hive. Obviously it's a 2 deep brood chamber, and we're going to put the formic strips in the middle of the brood chamber here. We do have a couple hives that are single brood chambers. We'll show you one of those and what we're going to do to that. And also they recommend in the paperwork that you have at least 10,000 bees in the hive, which equates to about 4 frames of bees. We've got one of those hives that doesn't quite have that population. It's our smallest hive from last year. I'm still kind of babying it, so we won't put a treatment in it right now. We'll let them build up a little bit more and then we'll give them a treatment a little bit later. So we'll go ahead and get into this hive. Like I said, it's about 50 degrees out today. The bees are flying, but they're, I'm sure, going to be a little finicky. But that's okay. We need to get this done and get this in. So we got our smoker. We'll smoke them here. Get up in here and pop the cover. Pop a little smoke in there. Get down in there a little bit. Like I said, you want to put it down in between the 2 brood chambers here. We'll go ahead and open up the pack before we crack that hive, because it's still kind of cool out. We're okay to do this today. As long as the bees are flying, we can open up the hive and do what we're doing, but we definitely don't want to pull any brood frames out. You wind up getting the brood chilled, and we don't want to leave it open for too long, otherwise it will chill the brood too. So open one of these little foil packets here. And inside each foil packet is 2 strips that are a gel impregnated with formic acid. There's kind of a wax paper material, not really wax paper, but kind of a wax paper material. You leave that on the strip. That's the wicking material. That controls the release of the product in the hive. If you take that off, it's going to release the product too fast. You won't have that control. So we'll wind up setting those in like that. Now that we've got that open, we'll go ahead and set our lid over here to the side. Pop this box right here and set it down. Smoke these roll down into the hive so we can set our strips in. Also always like to take this opportunity to clean off this bird comb that they put up top here, because if you don't, that just builds up and you wind up squishing bees when you put the box on. It gets in your way. So the directions tell you to place the strips at least 4 inches from the edge of the hive, front to back, across the frames of the hive in the center of the brood nest, and to leave about 2 inches in between. So we'll kind of center these things up in there, make sure it covers all of the brood nest, leave it away from the edges, leave the space in between, space on each edges, and we're good to go. Our box is squared back up. I also want to lift and test to see how heavy the hive is, make sure they've got enough food. They're plenty heavy enough. They've got plenty of food in their storage, so we don't have to worry about that. So we'll go ahead and put the cover back on. And it was as simple as that. Now, if you have hotter temperatures, you will notice the first couple of days there's going to be a bunch of bearding on the front of the hive. That's all the bees trying to get out and ventilate the vapors out of the hive. With these cooler temperatures over the next couple of days, we probably won't see that. So that hive's done, 19 more to go. We'll show you one of the single deeps and what we're going to do with that. So I'm going to do a little side note here. You see all the bees on the front of the hive here. I've seen a lot of people ask questions about whether or not that's robbing or whether they're getting ready to swarm or what that behavior is right there. And I'm just showing you that that's orientation flights by the new bees. There's a couple ways you can tell. One of them is, I don't know if you can catch it real good on the camera, but they're kind of in front of the hive doing figure eights. They're just getting oriented to the sun position with the relative to the hive and how to get in and out of the hive. These are new bees that were just born a little while ago. They haven't been out of the hive yet. And also you can see that there's not only bees coming out, but there's bees going back in. If they were getting ready to swarm, all the bees would be coming out, getting ready to leave, not going back in. And also if they were being robbed, you would see the bees going back in, being fought by the guard bees of the hive, protecting the hive. So we don't see any of that going on right there. It's a little bit of bee activity. It definitely gets worse than this in the summer months when you've got more bees being born, but it's just normal. So this one right here is one of our single deep hives right now. It's a overwintered nuke. They just had a single box over the winter they stayed in. So obviously there's not as many bees in this one and not as much space, so we're going to treat this one just a little bit differently. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pop out this entrance reducer, because we did have an entrance reducer on them for winter. We're going to pop that out so that they have room to ventilate the hive. And there's a couple different tricks we're going to use for this. The first one is we're going to add the second box to it. We're going to give them a box with some empty comb, and that way it gives them room to expand. They can draw out that comb while they're in there. If the vapors are too much, they're not all crowded down in there, and we're not condensing all the vapors into one location on them that will hurt the bees and possibly our queen. And then second of all, we'll do another little trick. We're going to cover the tops of those pads. So you can see there's plenty of bees in that hive, so we don't have to worry about the population. We just need to give them a little bit more room. Keep them happy for another couple weeks till we can get them inspected and get them sold to a new beekeeper. This is one of the overwintered nukes we'll be selling. It was a queen that was mated around July 4th last year, right around the summer solstice. She was a locally mated queen of ours, and we overwintered them, and they're doing pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and center up those pads. And like I said, another trick you can use with the smaller hives is putting these foil wrappers back on the top of the pad. That keeps them from off-gassing as quickly, especially with a smaller hive. You don't want them to off-gas real quick and have a lot of vapors in there that will wind up hurting the queen. And then we're also going to give them this box right here so that they can go up into it and expand Hopefully keep them busy, give them something to do, draw out some more comb for us that we can later use. You see right there is a good amount of bees on that top cover right there, that feeder. Go ahead and pop them back down in there. Make sure our frames are good and tight. And then we're going to go ahead and top off their jar of sugar syrup. That was filled up the other day, and you can see they've been eating it, so that'll encourage them to draw out those frames with wax. And it'll also make sure that they've got enough food, which they're still pretty heavy, so being a single deep like that, they've got enough food, but we want to do some work for us while we're waiting. We'll get them to draw out those frames. And again, this is just our 1-to-1 sugar syrup. 1 part sugar to 1 part water that we're feeding right now, with a little bit of honeybee healthy mixed in there as a feeding stimulant. Put that back on. That box just covers the jar and seals everything up. And there we go. There's another one down. Speaking of drawing out frames, let's take a peek in another hive over here, and we'll show you what we've had them doing and show you how they're coming along drawing out some frames. Okay, so you'll notice this hive has 3 deep boxes on it. This is one of the 2 hives that we added that extra deep box on to try to get them to draw out some frames for us. So we're going to do the mite treatment in here. And we're also going to take the opportunity here to kind of show you how they're doing on drawing that frame out for us. I'll set this feeder in the front, that way any bees that are still on it can return to the hive. This is the box that we added with the waxed foundation. Hoping to get them to draw it out. I'll go ahead and smoke these bees down so we can lay this box up here and show you what's inside. Again, I don't want to have this hive open any longer than necessary, but just kind of wanted to show you. You can see down in there that they're drawing out those frames for us already. There's brand new white wax right there along the edges. I'm sure they're putting some stores in there. We'll also take this opportunity to scrape off this bird comb off the bottom. Same reason we scrape it off the top. We don't want this stuff down in here. It'll squish bees. Could potentially squish our queen if she happens to be between the 2 boxes when we put it back together. So we'll get rid of all that. That gets saved and melted down and used to re-wax our frames in the wintertime. So let's set this box off to the side. Taking care, because there is the potential that our queen is up in this box right here. Now we also visit the 3 deep box, and all of the brood is mainly going to be in this box down here. These 2. We're going to take this box off to put the treatment between the 2 real brood chambers. And you can see this hive is definitely packed with bees. They've got a good population. This is another one of our overwintered nukes. Believe it or not, this hive was started in July last year and is doing very well, you can see. And will be one of the hives that we're going to be selling as overwintered nukes here as soon as we can get inspected. So if you're watching and you're local to us and you'd like to get one of these overwintered nukes, go ahead and get in touch with us and we'll get you on the list. We'll probably have about 4 overwintered nukes, and then we'll wind up doing splits and selling off of our splits as well. But those will be ready a little bit later. These overwintered nukes will be ready probably by the end of the month. So, okay, so that's on there. I'll go ahead and put the hive back together now. Get these bees off and clean this up just a little bit here. Go. Okay, now let's put our last box back on. Again, we've got to be careful with this box, just like any other one, because the queen may be up here. So, there. Always make sure to push our frames together. If you give them too much space, they will use it, and they will fill it with comb, and it will make a mess. So we always keep our frames centered. And then we're going to swap out feeders on this one, because this one's pretty heavy as far as weight goes, so we don't really need to feed them anymore. I don't want to keep flooding them with sugar syrup. That'll plug them up, and they'll wind up wanting to swarm on us before we're ready to split them. But I do want them to still draw this box out, so we're going to use our feeder jar system here and just give them a little bit, that way they can't get too much at one time. And I forgot a box for this, so I'm going to go get a super box and we'll be right back to finish it up. Okay, so I went and ran and got another super box to put on top here to finish closing this up. We needed that because the other feeder that was on there was one of our hive top feeders. So since we're putting the jar feeder on, we need one to enclose the jars. Put it back together. Make sure I get our heavy rock, put it on top to hold the lid down so it doesn't get away from us. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and finish up putting the treatments in the rest of these hives. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. You get notified when we put out a new video, and we're going to try to put out one next week. We're going to try to talk about the different types of hive feeders we got and the purpose for each one. So be sure to like and subscribe and get notified when that video comes out, and let us know if you have any questions or comments down below. Thank you.